This is Christoph. I'm a second-year student here at Skagit Valley, and I'm working with Art tearing apart King's Pride. We started with tearing apart the forward and aft fuel tanks because the previous owner reported that they were contaminated or leaking. This is the aft fuel tank that we pulled out, but of course it wasn't easy. We had to remove trim with wood plugs, and then to actually get access to the plywood that was on top of this that we had to remove to actually then get to the tank in order to pull it out. But luckily it was completely empty. So after about 3 hours of wood butchery to get to the tank, we pulled it out and got it into the shop, and then it was pretty clear why it was leaking. Pretty good hole in there, and it was resting right near the house batteries, and some battery acid leaked out and got onto the side of the tank. Another point we noticed when we pulled it out is that the tank doesn't appear to be designed directly or nicely to the boat, and it was butting up against the hole on the side and was rubbing, and we think that's a part of the corrosion problem it had. Next, I started working on the forward tank, which is in the saloon area right in the keel area, and it was completely covered by wood and everything, and we're just now getting access to it. But when we got everything disattached, we realized the tank was basically full of diesel fuel. But Rule makes this handy little pump that fits right down into the fuel sender hole. So we dropped that in there, and we pumped about 35 gallons worth of diesel fuel out of it.
All right, so Christoph, what did we find here?
Well, we found when we tried to take the tank out that they built the cabinetry over and around the tank. So we have to use some persuasive techniques.
Yeah, we do. Look at that. It's going to be a matter of customizing a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's the right tool for the job, at least. And hopefully it'll make pretty quick order of that marine grade plywood.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
There you go. Safety first. Put your ear protection in.
All right.
Well, that looks like we got it cut out of there. Yep. You think it'll fit?
So now that tank should come out with no problems.
I agree. That looks amazing. So, Mike, it looks like we got the fuel tanks out of the boat, and Christoph did a great job helping me out, getting them out. We had to move a lot of things out of the way, but here they sit in the shop. The main storage tank, or the main service tank, is all stainless steel, and it appears to be in decent shape. The rust that we see is just kind of surface rust and atmospheric corrosion that we can take care of with a good cleaning and scrubbing. The plan moving forward with this tank is to reuse it and put in a couple of service openings that we will have access to, that in the future, if the tank needs to be cleaned, and this one really does need to be cleaned, you'll be able to get in there with your arm and clean out the areas of the tank, rinse it down, and also if you have any other issues, you can easily access and inspect the tank. The front end of the tank is a little bit of a hot mess because there was a fair amount of hot work done when the welder did the work. There's a fair amount of tank distortion up there. Our plan is to try to scab out most of that area and insert a new tank lid that will have all of those fittings, rather than being part of the tank, will actually be part of a reinforced lid that will drop in, and that'll make up the area for us to clean out the front. There will also be a port that goes all the way to the bottom for stripping, so if you think you have bad fuel, you hook it up to your oil change pump for your engine and just suck out a gallon of fuel or whatever until you see clean stuff. This is where the Italian dressing will accumulate, down here in the bottom. When the fuel starts to get bad with water and everything else, it'll sit on the bottom there, and we'll have our engine pick up just probably a little bit above that point. The plan moving forward also is...
How much fuel does that tank hold?
Well, mathematically, we did the math on its dimensions, and we calculated it to be right around 39 gallons for this one tank. The label on it, ABYC requires all tanks to have some kind of a label, capacity, test inspection, data manufacturer, that kind of data. And this one is conveniently scratched a little bit, but it sure does look like a 52. Bob Perry's drawing calls for a 50-gallon tank. This one's 39. We'll see how that pans out. The one thing that we are definitely going to change that used to sit on top of this tank right here was a tray under the cabin sole that held the shower box. And we're going to completely re-engineer and change how that's done. That drain was kind of small, and it also, I think, promoted some crevice corrosion that's here on the tank. When we put our inspection cover in, we're hoping to incorporate that area. I don't think it's structural, and it's on the top of the tank, so I'm not worried about it like weeping or anything like that. It's just, it's not perfect, but it's totally serviceable. So we'll get that as part of we'll incorporate most of that into the area where we put the access cover. And other than that, I think the tank is, like I said, it's ready to go. So this one's 39, and we still aren't sure on this one. We're estimating, and again, it's hard to read. In fact, they didn't even enter data on this one. Snow Products in Costa Mesa, California, just didn't bother to measure it out, I guess. But so I think this one's about 20. And this one will be our storage tank. So this will be service. This is where the engine will supply and return from. This one will be storage, where the concept is you put new fuel in that, and then we'll have an opening valve that will run the fuel down to help top this one up. There's not enough fuel in this tank to fill this tank, but hopefully if they work in concert with one another. The other benefit is this would be where you would put your fuel, say you're in transit, you fill up with jerry jugs and you're not sure if there's water or whatever, it'll settle out in this tank first. You can sample it and see if it's good fuel before you send it downstream, or you can at least strip the water off at this level. Both tanks will be able to be filled from the deck, but this one will be able to transfer down to the other tank as well.
And we'll be able to use 100% of this fuel down into that tank.
Correct. Correct.
I think you have a good plan going forward for
Yeah,
King's
we'll see.
Pride
Now we
here.
just have to find a welder to scan.
Nice. And we're going to get some students to get out there and clean and paint, so that when we
That's
get
the
these
hope,
done,
is
we're
we
ready
can
to put
get
them back in.
They'll be ready to go back in. This is kind of, we're starting at the very bottom, and these are at the bottom of the boat. So we'll be able to build up from there.
Excellent. Thanks for the update.
All righty, thank you.